What if the most powerful truths Carl Jung uncovered were never spoken out loud? Imagine this. Behind his celebrated books and groundbreaking lectures, could Jung have kept back secrets, truths so profound, so unsettling, that he believed the world simply wasn't ready to face them? We're talking about whispers of the soul, visions that were too strange, too vivid to fit neatly into the framework of science, experiences that didn't just challenge logic, but shattered the very idea of what we call reality. These aren't the teachings you'll find in the psychology textbooks or the university halls. These are the 5 soul-level secrets Carl Jung never fully revealed during his lifetime, mystical truths hidden in his private letters, buried within unpublished manuscripts and encrypted in the enigmatic pages of the Red Book. What if these secrets are not just psychological observations, but doorways, gateways into a deeper understanding of the human spirit? Jung himself often hinted that psychology, when pushed far enough, transforms into something resembling mysticism. And here's the question: are we ready to hear what he left unsaid? Because these hidden truths take us beyond the surface of the mind. They ask us to confront the deepest layers of the soul, the place where symbols breathe, archetypes speak, and the unconscious merges with something infinite and eternal. Are you ready to step into this world, to go where psychology becomes mysticism and science meets spirit? While Carl Jung was always careful to avoid any form of rigid dogma, there was one belief he hinted at again and again that stirred both curiosity and controversy: the idea that the soul does not simply vanish after death. Instead, it survives, evolves, and returns. In his private letters, those intimate pieces of writing where his most unfiltered thoughts were captured, Jung wrote something astonishing. I could well imagine that I might have lived in former centuries, and that I approached the questions I had left unfinished. This wasn't just a casual musing. It was a profound statement that echoed a belief Jung carried deep within his psyche, that our souls are not confined to a single lifetime, that the challenges, lessons, and even the wounds we experience might stretch across centuries, waiting for us to resolve them. In the soul's journey beyond time, Jung's work often revolved around the unconscious, the vast, mysterious realm of symbols, archetypes, and hidden truths that influence our lives. But when he spoke of the psyche, he wasn't just referring to the mind as we know it. He described it as something much larger, something eternal. He believed that the psyche, the true essence of who we are, doesn't begin at birth. Instead, we enter this life already carrying the echoes of previous ones. Unfinished business, unresolved questions, and unlearned lessons all come with us, shaping our experiences and challenges in this lifetime. What if that recurring dream you've had since childhood, or the inexplicable fear you can't trace to any event in your life, isn't random at all? Jung might say it's the residue of another life, another time, a message from the soul urging you to pay attention. The hints in Jung's work, although Jung rarely spoke about reincarnation, openly likely to avoid the skepticism of his peers, he left breadcrumbs everywhere. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, his semi-autobiographical work, Jung described visions and dreams that seemed to transcend time. He saw himself as both a modern man and a being connected to an ancient, timeless current. For Jung, reincarnation wasn't necessarily about being born again as a completely new person. It was more about the continuation of consciousness, an ongoing journey of growth, healing, and integration. He believed that what we fail to resolve in one life returns to us in some form in the next. Life then becomes a series of opportunities to achieve individuation, the process of becoming whole. The temple of the psyche. In one of his near-death experiences, Jung reported seeing a magnificent temple. a place that felt more real than anything in the physical world. He believed this vision symbolized the self of the divine core of the soul that persists beyond time. Could this temple be the home the soul returns to between lives? Jung never gave a definitive answer, but his writings leave us with tantalizing clues. Perhaps the temple isn't a physical place, but a state of being, a symbol of ultimate truth where all parts of the soul converge. And maybe, just maybe, each lifetime is a chance to build another piece of that inner temple brick by brick until we are ready to fully enter it. But what this means for us: if Jung was right, our lives are not isolated events. Every challenge we face could be tied to something much deeper than this moment in time. The people we meet might not be strangers, but souls we've encountered before in different roles across different eras. Think about that for a moment. What lessons might your soul be carrying forward? What unfinished questions, as Jung put it, are you here to resolve? This perspective doesn't just change how we see death, it transforms how we see life. Every experience becomes an opportunity for growth, every hardship a piece of a larger puzzle. We're no longer victims of fate, but participants in a much bigger, more meaningful journey. Weihnachteraft awakening to the soul's story. Jung believed that by exploring our dream symbols and inner world, we could catch glimpses of this larger narrative. Our unconscious mind holds fragments of this story, archetypes, images, and intuitions that connect us to something beyond this lifetime. When we look inward, we begin to see patterns, fears, desires, and callings that feel ancient, as if they've followed us for centuries. What if these patterns are guiding us toward the completion of a much larger task? Perhaps the real question isn't whether reincarnation is real, but what your soul is asking of you right now. Are you listening to its whispers? The Carl Jung once suggested that death is not an ending, but a continuation, an expansion of consciousness beyond the boundaries of the body. And if that's true, maybe our work here is to live in such a way that when we cross that threshold, we do so with fewer unfinished questions. Locked away from the public eye for decades, there existed a book unlike any other, a book that even Carl Jung himself hesitated to reveal. It wasn't a collection of academic theories or clinical case studies. It was something far more intimate, raw, and mysterious. This book was The Red Book, Jung's private journal of visions, trances, and direct contact with what he called the entities of the unconscious. For years, Jung poured his soul into its pages, documenting experiences that would have seemed almost unimaginable to the outside world. He described entering altered states of consciousness, where he encountered symbolic characters and archetypal forces that spoke to him, challenged him, and guided him. Among these figures was Philemon, a wise spirit guide, who became one of the most significant voices in Jung's inner journey. Jung himself admitted that Philemon's teachings felt as though they did not come from me. What could this mean? Was Jung simply tapping into a deeper layer of his own psyche? Or was he communicating with something beyond the individual mind, a collective, universal intelligence? Jung never gave a definitive answer. Instead, he treated these experiences as profound psychological truths, symbols of the soul's multidimensional nature. The fear of revelation. Jung knew that if the Red Book were made public during his lifetime, his reputation would be at stake. At the time, he was already considered a pioneering yet controversial figure in psychology. To publish a journal filled with conversations with spirits, surreal landscapes, and mystical visions would have been professional suicide. He feared that people would dismiss him as delusional, or worse, a madman. And yet, Jung understood the value of what he had discovered. Within these pages, he found not just personal healing, but universal insights about the human soul. He came to see the psyche as far more than a collection of memories or behaviors. To Jung, the soul was autonomous and multidimensional, a living force that communicates through symbols, dreams, and synchronicities. On a journey into the unconscious. In the Red Book, Jung didn't just analyze the unconscious, he entered it. He called this process active imagination, a method of engaging directly with the archetypal figures and energies that live within us. Through dialogues with these inner characters, Jung discovered truths that shaped his entire understanding of psychology, spirituality, and the human condition. Philemon, for example, taught Jung that wisdom does not always come from rational thought. Sometimes it arises from surrendering to the deeper, symbolic language of the psyche. Jung described Philemon as a figure who embodied timeless truths, insights about the nature of life, death, and the soul that transcend any single culture or belief system. The Red Book's legacy. After Jung's death, the Red Book remained hidden for decades, locked away in a Swiss vault. Only a handful of people even knew of its existence. It wasn't until 2009, nearly half a century after Jung's passing, that the book was finally published. When it was unveiled, it shocked the world. Here was not just the work of a scientist, but of a visionary artist and mystic. The book's pages, adorned with Jung's own calligraphy and paintings, revealed a man who had ventured further into the depths of the human soul than perhaps anyone before him. What Jung uncovered in the Red Book challenges the way we think about the mind. It suggests that the unconscious is not simply a storage room for forgotten memories or repressed desires. It's a living realm, rich with intelligence, imagery, and voices that can guide us if we're willing to listen. Honor the soul as autonomous. Perhaps the most radical idea Jung shared through the Red Book was this: the soul is autonomous. It is not just an extension of our conscious mind, but a vast, multidimensional presence with its own wisdom and purpose. Jung believed that the key to psychological growth, what he called individuation, was to form a dialogue with this deeper part of ourselves. By engaging with the archetypes and symbolic figures in our dreams or imagination, we open a channel to the wisdom of the collective unconscious. This isn't just a theory. It's a practice, one that Jung himself lived and documented. Nana, what does this mean for us? The Red Book isn't just a historical artifact or a psychological curiosity. It's an invitation. It challenges us to look within, to confront our own shadows, and to listen to the quiet whispers of the soul. It tells us that true transformation doesn't come from ignoring these inner voices, but from engaging with them, understanding them, and integrating their messages into our lives. Perhaps the question we must ask ourselves is this: what hidden truths lie within our own unconscious? What wisdom is waiting for us if we dare to look inward as deeply as Jung did? Carl Jung often spoke about life as if it were more than just a sequence of random events. He believed that every soul carries within it a task that must be completed, a spiritual mission, a deep inner work that cannot be ignored forever. According to Jung, the moments that shape us most are greatest relationships. Heartbreaking losses and seemingly insurmountable challenges are not mere accidents. They are spiritual assignments carefully woven into the fabric of our lives by something larger than ourselves. Every encounter, whether it brings joy or pain, is meant to teach us, transform us, and bring us closer to the wholeness we are destined to embody. For spiritual assignments we can't avoid. Have you ever wondered why certain people enter your life, almost as if by fate? Why some challenges keep repeating, no matter how hard you try to avoid them? Jung would say these are the assignments your soul chose before you were even born. These assignments are rarely easy. They come in the form of heartbreak, failure, or the uncomfortable mirror of relationships that push us to face who we really are. Some people run from these tasks. They numb themselves with distractions, refusing to look deeper. But the soul does not forget. As Jung famously said, what we do not make conscious will return as fate. In other words, the lessons we avoid will continue to show up in different disguises until we're ready to face them. Eager aufrug the soul's memory. Jung believed that while the mind may forget, the soul remembers everything. It carries the weight of unresolved experiences, unspoken truths, and unfinished growth. When we ignore our inner work, our fears, our shadow, our potential life finds ways to bring them back to us. Maybe that's why certain patterns repeat in your life, similar toxic relationships, recurring fears, or familiar setbacks. These are not coincidences. They are signs that the task of the soul remains incomplete, urging you to turn inward and bring awareness to what lies hidden. Turning fate into freedom. The beauty of Jung's teaching is that fate is not fixed. When we become conscious of our patterns, when we courageously confront our wounds and integrate the lessons they hold, fate transforms into freedom. Instead of being controlled by the unconscious, we begin to co-create with it. Life no longer feels like a series of random blows, but a meaningful path toward individuation and the process Jung described as becoming your truest, most authentic self. Are you listening to your soul think of your current struggles? What if they are not punishments, but assignments? What if every challenge you face is a message from your soul asking you to grow, heal, and evolve? When we stop resisting and start listening, we realize that even pain has a purpose. Every loss can become a teacher. Every relationship, even the difficult ones, reflects something we need to acknowledge within ourselves. Jung's wisdom invites us to live more consciously, to ask ourselves, what task is my soul asking me to complete in this lifetime? Because in the end, the real tragedy is not failing. The real tragedy is never daring to face the lessons we came here to learn. To Carl Jung, dreams were never just fleeting images or random echoes of our unconscious desires. For him, dreams were gateways to the soul's deepest truth. Mystical messages sent from a place beyond reason, beyond the limits of everyday logic. Jung saw dreams not as meaningless fragments of the mind, but as powerful signals from the inner world, guiding us toward understanding, healing, and transformation. Calc dreams as messages from the soul. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul, Jung famously wrote. He believed that every dream carries a purpose, even the ones that seem confusing or chaotic. A dream is not there to entertain or frighten us. It is there to teach us something about ourselves. In our dreams, Jung suggested we enter a world where time and space collapse. We can meet not only the shadow parts of ourselves, those hidden aspects we refuse to acknowledge in waking life, but also ancient wisdom, symbolic guides, and even echoes of our ancestors. These encounters are not coincidences. They are archetypal patterns, universal symbols that reveal truths far deeper than anything the rational mind can comprehend. To the language of symbols. Jung believed that dreams speak in the language of symbols. A house, for instance, might represent your inner self. A storm might symbolize emotional turmoil or a coming transformation. These images are not meant to be interpreted literally, but understood through reflection and intuition. He compared dreams to a compass pointing us toward the next step in our personal evolution. When we ignore our dreams, it's as if we are walking through life without paying attention to the map that the soul is trying to hand us. Meeting ancestors and karmic patterns. One of Jung's more mystical beliefs was that dreams can connect us to something larger than ourselves, what he called the collective unconscious. This is a shared reservoir of symbols, stories, and memories that all humans carry, regardless of time or culture. Through this collective field, Jung believed we can meet ancestors who passed down wisdom or warnings. We can encounter karmic patterns, unresolved energies, or lessons from the past that resurface in our lives. Sometimes these patterns appear as recurring dreams or themes nudging us to pay attention to heal what has been left unfinished. Lost dreams as hidden guides. In his own life, Jung relied on dreams as his personal compass. He recorded them meticulously, studying their symbols and following their guidance when making major life decisions. He believed that hidden guides, spiritual forces, inner teachers, or archetypal figures often appear in dreams to lead us toward wholeness. Have you ever dreamt of someone giving you advice or guiding you through a strange landscape? Jung would say that these dream guides are not random. They are messengers from the deeper layers of your psyche, or even from something greater, inviting you to awaken. Then how to work with your dreams? Jung encouraged everyone to take their dreams seriously. Instead of dismissing them as just dreams, he suggested writing them down, exploring their symbols, and asking what message they hold for you. A single dream can unlock insights about fears, desires, and hidden strengths you didn't know you had. When a dream lingers in your mind, it's because it has something important to say. It might reveal a truth you're not yet ready to see in your waking life, but that your soul is urging you to acknowledge. Them the guiding words of the soul. In the end, Jung saw dreams as sacred. They are whispers from the soul guiding us through the chaos of life toward greater self-awareness and connection. They show us not just who we are, but who we have the potential to become. So the next time you wake from a dream that feels strangely powerful or haunting, pause and listen. What if that dream isn't random at all? What if it's your soul speaking in the only language it knows through symbols, stories, and images that carry timeless meaning? Despite his profound inner experiences, visions, dreams, and mystical insights that shaped his life's work, Carl Jung remained cautious. He was not just a seeker of spiritual truths. He was also a scientist determined to ensure that psychology would be taken seriously as a respected discipline. In a world dominated by empirical thinking and skepticism, Jung understood that walking too far into the mystical might cost him his credibility. So he walked a fine line, publicly rational, but privately mystical. To the public, Jung spoke the language of science. He described archetypes, the collective unconscious, and individuation in ways that could be studied and debated. But behind the scenes in his journals and private conversations, he explored realms of the psyche that felt more like sacred territory than clinical theory. His inner world was alive with visions, symbolic dreams, and encounters with what he called the numinous experiences that defy reason, but resonate with undeniable truth. Jung once admitted, "I have had to learn to hold the balance between exact science and the numinous." The scientist and the mystic. This balance defined Jung's genius. Unlike many of his peers who reduced the mind to mechanical processes, Jung saw psychology as both an art and a science. To him, the human soul could not be fully understood through data and experiments alone. It required the language of myth, symbol, and imagination. Yet he knew that if he spoke too openly about his mystical experiences, his visions recorded in the Red Book, his conversations with inner guides like Philemon, he would risk being dismissed as eccentric or unscientific. For Jung, the challenge was not to deny these experiences, but to frame them in a way that bridged science and spirituality. The hidden depth. Privately, Jung believed that the psyche was more than a psychological construct. It was a living force that connected us to the divine. He saw the unconscious not just as a storage place for forgotten memories, but as a gateway to timeless wisdom, where symbols and archetypes reveal truths about the soul's journey. Publicly, however, he maintained the image of a disciplined scientist. He carefully translated his inner discoveries into terms that scholars could accept, using the language of psychology while hinting at something deeper just beneath the surface. Holding the balance. Jung's ability to hold this balance is what made his work so enduring. He never abandoned his scientific rigor, but he also never denied the profound mystical dimension of human experience. This delicate equilibrium is what allowed him to build bridges between worlds that often seem at odds: science and spirituality, reason and intuition, the known and the mysterious. In many ways, Jung's life was a testament to this duality. He showed us that we don't have to choose between logic and soul, between analysis and wonder. Both can coexist. Both are necessary. None of the legacy of Jung's approach today, Jung's insights into dreams, archetypes, and the collective unconscious continue to influence psychology, art, and spiritual thought. His willingness to explore the numinous, even while maintaining scientific credibility, paved the way for a more holistic understanding of the human mind. By holding the balance between exact science and the mystical, Jung reminded us of something profound: that the soul is both measurable and immeasurable, both rational and ineffable. Carl Jung wasn't just a psychologist. He was a soul explorer, a seeker who dared to chart the uncharted realms of the human psyche. Jung wasn't merely studying the mind, he was mapping the invisible, creating a blueprint of the inner worlds that most of us only glimpse in dreams and fleeting moments of insight. The secrets he chose not to share during his lifetime weren't born of arrogance or secrecy. They came from a place of reverence. Jung understood something most of us forget. Some truths cannot be handed down like facts. They must be discovered, experienced, and earned. He knew that if he spoke these truths too openly, they would be misunderstood or dismissed. Certain wisdoms, especially those about the soul, require readiness, a willingness to see beyond the surface of life and into the depths of what we truly are. But now, perhaps we are ready. The call to the soul. Maybe you're here because you felt that quiet pull, a sense that there is something deeper, something hidden just beneath the noise of everyday life. Jung would say that this pull is your soul calling you toward the forgotten teachings, the whispers of the unconscious, the truths that shape who we are beyond time and space. If you feel that resonance, don't ignore it. Follow it. Let it lead you inward to the places where logic ends and insight begins. Who knows, your soul may have been waiting lifetimes for this moment to remember what Jung almost said, to awaken to what was once hidden. On a journey we take together. The journey into the soul isn't meant to be walked alone. Each insight you gain, each question you ask, might be the very thing that awakens someone else. Which of these 5 truths stirred something inside you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might inspire someone on their own path of discovery. And if you feel this calling, if you seek wisdom buried deep within the soul and the psyche, then stay with us. Subscribe, because we're only just beginning this journey inward.